Hey everybody, this is Wookie Dingleberries with the Republic, and I hope you're doing well. It's good to see you again. Good to be with you, figuratively, of course, as I'm staring at a camera. But anyway, today we're going to be talking about a common Territory Wars and Grand Arena matchup that I've seen a number of times, and I'm sure you have too, where you're taking Traya on offense against Nighsisters. Historically, we've seen a lot of Nightsister teams on defense. It's a very solid team, and you know what you would use is typically either Imperial Troopers or Traya to get past them. So what we saw is originally it was all Nightsisters under Talzin lead with Acolyte, and then that was swapped out. Acolyte was swapped out for Nest in a lot of cases to stop the Troopers, but Traya could still just run over the Nightsister team pretty easily, gain a lot of points in Grand Arena, get full points in Territory Wars. But that's not the case against the Asajj lead. There's a difference in the leadership that is really key that I want to highlight here because it does completely change the strategy you have to use in order to get the win. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull up the Talzin leadership. Just cover that very, very briefly. I don't want to spend any time on it. But what it comes down to is the second sentence in her leadership, which says that when a Nightsister ally uses a special ability, they inflict plague on a selected target for 3 turns. And this was a huge benefit to the Talzin lead is plague. Well, what plague did was units would lose 5% of their health when plague was hit. They were hit with plague, and then they would lose 5% at the beginning of each turn for each stack. Well, the problem was those stacks disappeared if the target went back to full health, and Traya's leadership provides a phenomenal way for Sith to do that. The second sentence in her leadership says that whenever a debuffed enemy takes damage, all Sith allies recover 10% health. And the damage doesn't have to come from a Sith ally, although certainly there's synergy there. So what happens is, in a Traya lead, you have Scion and you have Nihilus, and you might be running another toon like Sith Trooper with a AoE attack. So once all their toons have pain and or health down, etc., and you do another AoE, your Sith team is healing 50% health. And so you could easily wipe out Plague from your team, and it made the Talzin leadership far less effective. There were still some benefits like the revives, but the Annihilate from Nihilus tended to prevent those, so it really rendered everything in the Talzin leadership useless. And that's one of the reasons why people have switched over to using the Asajj Ventress lead, because it's a completely different leadership. They still gain speed, just like the Talzin lead, but there's 2 parts of this leadership. Well, really 3 additional parts of this leadership. All of them make Nightsisters more effective against Traya, and I'm gonna go through these and try to do it pretty quickly. So the first is they get 30% offense, so they hit harder, which means they can get through your tanky characters a little bit faster. But the biggest piece I see people struggle with is the fact that these Nightsisters, they will gain 50% turn meter if you drop them below 100% health, which is really easy to do when you're hitting Nightsisters with AoE after AoE, and they don't regenerate protection. So once their protection's gone, it's nothing but health, and all you have to do is drop them below health. Let's say you run a couple of AoEs, and you put 4 of them, 4 Nightsisters below 100% health with the same AoE. You just gave the enemy team, at least 1 or 2 extra turns is what it comes down to. They're already faster than you because of the Nightsister lead, and they're already reducing your turn meter because of the last part of Asajj's leadership, which is that they have a 50% chance to reduce 20% turn meter. So you're already going to be losing turn meter, they're already faster, and then you just end up giving them extra turns, and that's when it can turn into an absolute train wreck. And that's a very common story that I've heard, is that things were going pretty well. I even got to annihilate Daka. I thought I was in a good position, and then it's a loss. And I don't know how to explain it. RNG maybe? I think it really comes down to Asajj's leadership, and just the way that it works can be very tricky and painful to mess with. So, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull up a video that I took earlier today. I'm going up against this guy named Reeves. He has 4 G13 Nighsisters. He has both the Asajj, Zetas and the Talzin unique Zeta, and he doesn't have the Daka Zeta. The Daka Zeta doesn't do anything in terms of defense against Traya teams. It does help against Imperial Trooper teams, especially, I mean, a really high health Daka with stacking health is going to be problematic at times. So it makes you reliant on Death Mark much more so. But we're talking about Traya here, so this is a very well modded team as well. Everybody has a lot of speed. The Dock is at 290. The Spirit's at 250. So with the leadership, I mean, they're already going to be very, very fast. All right, so I'm going to shoot over to my team selection. I have Traya, Scion, Nihilus, and Sith Trooper Gear 12. All the Zetas on those 3 characters there at the top. And then I have Gear 11 Savage, who also has a Zeta. And there's a reason for using him. It's because of his unique. And I'll cover that a bit right as I get to discussing his mods. So I'm going to go ahead and look at all right, the video. So what you're going to see, they're going to have a lot of attacks early, and they're going to continue they're going to outpace me in terms of the number of attacks. So the biggest thing is you're going to see they don't do a ton of damage to start with. You see all that plague. Watch this, AoE, bam, everybody's healed, no more plague. It's beautiful. Okay, so then, Drain Force, Isolate Zombie. You have to isolate the zombie. That's a no-brainer. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be very careful to spread the attacks around so I don't drop any protection below 100 to 0 and start reducing health below 100% because I don't want to give them any more turn meter than I absolutely have to give them. It's very important to stop them from taking any additional turns that could hurt your chances. So here I'm gonna annihilate Daka. That's always the first priority. Annihilate Daka. Because she can cause problems. All right, and then you see that I lost Scion. Scion, was healthy, and then he wasn't. That's a problem when the Nighsisters get pain. They're going to be able to focus fire on him because he auto taunts. So Scion, he's not tanky enough, and I'll show you in the mods. What I mean. But here I'm going to continue to spread out attacks. I'm just going to keep going down the line. I'm going to go through and spread out attacks, not going into the health. Just keep itching away at protection until I can get another annihilate. Once I can get another annihilate, then it looks a little bit better. But right now I got 4. It's 4 on 4, right? So attacking Talzin, got ability block on her. That's fine. All right. So here, what I'm going to do is, all right. Any moment now. Okay, basically what I'm going to do is I'm about to annihilate Asajj Ventress. That's my second recommendation for. It's my number 2 on the list for annihilation is the Asajj lead. It's the only last tricky part to taking out this team. All right, so here we go. It's 4 on 3, and then it's not. Bam, big hit. It's only 17,000, but it took out Sith Trooper. And right now, I'm in a really bad spot. You really need that taunt up to draw the attention away from Nihilus, because they're going to keep attacking Nihilus and Traya, removing their turn meter, dropping their health down. You really need that taunt to keep yourself viable. This is a loss. As soon as you're down like this, you're going to lose. It's going to be really, really hard to come back from this. So even though I'm looking to be in a good position, I'm going to have Annihilate again here shortly. There's really not much I can do. They're faster, they're hitting harder, and I'm stuck behind the zombie taunt. I do isolate zombie here, but bam, look at that, 25,000 hit against Traya, and I lost Traya, just like that. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how to avoid that. But needless to say, I got zombie locked, and there's nothing you can do about that. But since I did knock out Daka and Asajj, I kept that and cleaned it up with Imperial Troopers for an easy 15. Of course, I would have much preferred 20 in that situation. So I am going to pull up the Sith here and show you what I mean by mods. So here I was taking Gear 12, effectively a Gear 12 Traya team against a Gear 13 Nightsister team, which is already a slight disadvantage. But my mods didn't help, and I knew that going in. And doing the video, I really saw how bad my mods were hurting me. So what I want to do is I'm going to take a few minutes to just run through the mods really quick and explain why the modding I had was bad and the way you can mod the tunes to make all the difference in the world. So I'm going to start with the leadership with Traya. Since she's first, as you can see, she's Gear 12 with 5 pieces. Very heavy on defense mods here. The problem that she had is she didn't have enough health. Right, she got hit with a 25,000 point hit from Spirit, and it just took her out. And then followed with a 14,000 hit from Talzin. That's the problem. Like, even with a ton of defense, you're going to run into situations where they may not be hitting for a ton of damage in today's terms, but it's still going to wear you out. What I recommend with Traya, get rid of all the offense all the offense mods, all the protection mods. They don't do anything for Traya. The only thing you need on Traya is health. You want her as healthy as possible, and a little bit of speed helps, but Isolate doesn't require potency, tenacity. You're not attacking with Traya. Really, honestly, that's more risk than reward. You can put daze, but if you drop them below 50% or below 100% health, they get 50% turn meter. So speed isn't an issue. You want to be able to isolate zombie within the first round or so of attacks to keep zombie in check and allow you to get some work done. Scion is your most important tank in this matchup, and you have to think of him like the actual tank role that he is, because you can't use him as an attacker. Scion as an attacker is fine against a lot of teams that Traya is good against, but it's not very good when you're going up against Nighsisters because they just revive, and that's not gonna. It's gonna counter out Scion having a lot of offense. Your offense is Annihilate. That's it. That's your one-trick pony taking Traya against this team. So here you can see he has 45,000 health, but if you recall in the video, he got steamrolled. He was rolled over and didn't do much. Realistically, you're going to want this number to be 55, 60 even, if you can get it that high. He doesn't need crit damage. He doesn't need offense. He doesn't need crit chance. It doesn't do you any good in this situation. What I'd recommend, actually for both Traya, Scion, and then also I'm going to include Savage and Sith Trooper in this list. Probably two health sets with all health primaries were applicable, except speed primary on the arrow for Scion. And then you can also sub in defense sets as well. But here for Darth Scion, the potency doesn't really matter. It matters a little bit, but Nighsisters, because of the revive, they don't focus on tenacity most of the time. But really, it's the health. You got to have that health up there, because if he doesn't last till Held by Hatred, it doesn't matter. Held by Hatred is what helps him become an offensive powerhouse, and if he doesn't survive till then, it's pointless. So definitely buff out his health. 55, 60,000 health if at all possible. And I mean, he's Gear 12 with 5+ pieces. He's got a 1 health primary here, but we've got a potency and a crit damage. Swap those out for health. You'll be very glad you did. All right, with Nihilus, again, Gear 12 plus 5 pieces, and I have speed and potency. A lot of people recommend tenacity. I think that's fine. Helps him avoid getting speed down, which does slow things down and cause problems. So, again, pretty speedy character. Health isn't as important because he gains health through Annihilate, but he doesn't need protection. He doesn't need tenacity. No, tenacity is good. Potency is good because that helps with the health down aspect of his kit. So um, the other thing is a lot of times people will mod Scion slightly faster than Nihilist because that way you can do your AoE pain and then follow it up with a Drain Force, for maximum effectiveness. But because Daka or someone else could be faster, you might get an AoE that goes through and TM charges Nihilist to go before Scion, which is what happened to me. So it's not as big a deal here. Sith Trooper, if you remember, he got hit pretty hard early on, kind of in the middle of the fight, taken out with like a 22,000 point hit, and that's only because he has 32,000 hit points. Now, granted, I don't have all the mods on here. Some of these definitely would pump his health up. There's 2,000, and there's 2,000, so that's an extra 4,000 health. That's 1,500 health. I could give it to him now, but and another 250. So realistically, you got 6,000 more health on there that you could add, but you want to see him over 40. Ideally, I would say you want to see him about 45 and 1,000 health because, again, he's going to take a ton of hits, and he gives himself defense, and he's got a good amount of armor already, and I've got him all the way up to 50%. But for the effectiveness of using Sith versus Nighsisters, I'd trade 10% armor for 10,000 health instantly. So, I would definitely give him more health because he has to survive. Because he's going to heal, but if he doesn't have enough hit points to survive an attack, it doesn't do you any good. And then last, and in this case least, is going to be Asajj. Asajj was used purely because of his unique. Whenever he takes damage, he gains offense up, defense up, heal over time for 2 turns, and 30% turn meter. Which that's important because at the end of his turns, he dispels all debuffs on a random Sith, which will help remove anything like tenacity down or speed down, which can slow down your team. And then he gains those debuffs, and then he loses them if he's critically hit. So again, just a tanky character. It needs to be more tanky, but I was going to bring it back up and say the problem he had, 26,000 health. It's not enough. It needs to be 35, 40,000. Otherwise, you're going to run into problems. So, that's it for today. I think this is a pretty straightforward situation where Traya is just not a strong matchup against Asajj lead. I still consider her a soft counter, more like a really soft, downy soft counter, because it's fickle. You have to be very careful not to upset the sisters and get them to steamroll you. But it's doable. It is doable. Some remodding on my behalf would probably be all I need to do to be consistent at beating even a Gear 13 Nightsister team. But if you find yourself losing or find people in your guild losing, I would definitely have them take a hard look at the matchup and their mods, because if it's not modded very tanky, you run too much risk, and you don't want to cost your guild a loss over Nightsisters. So anyway, I hope you have a wonderful evening. If you wonderful day, wonderful evening. If you enjoyed this video, find it useful, please like, subscribe. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. I will read those and respond. But you have a blessed night, and hope to see you in the next video.